The internet was meant to connect people, to bring strangers together in a world of endless possibility. But in the shadows of that digital freedom lies something darker: the ability to disguise, to deceive, and to prey. In November of 2013, a man answered what seemed like an ordinary Craigslist ad. A casual meeting, a promise of companionship, maybe even a few minutes of excitement. Instead, he walked straight into the trap of a young couple who were anything but ordinary. A husband and wife barely out of their teens who weren't just searching for connection online, they were hunting. This is the story of Miranda and Elytte Barbour, a couple bound by obsession, fantasy, and violence. A couple who turned an online ad into a death sentence. Miranda Barbour's story began long before Craigslist. Born in 1994, she grew up in North Pole, Alaska, a place that should have been serene, cold, and quiet, but her upbringing was anything but calm. Miranda later claimed she suffered abuse at a young age, both physical and emotional. Her childhood was fractured, unstable. Friends and family members described her as troubled, unpredictable, and drawn to chaos. By her teenage years, she was experimenting with drugs, rebelling against authority, and pushing further away from any sense of normalcy. She was young, but already searching for control. A control she felt she never had growing up. And in her search for stability, she found something much darker: the thrill of manipulation, of power, and eventually, of violence. While Miranda's story started in Alaska, Elytte Barbour's path began in Pennsylvania. Born in 1992, Elytte was quieter, more reserved. He grew up in a stable family but carried with him a deep sense of loneliness and the need to belong. When Miranda and Elytte crossed paths online, it was as if two puzzle pieces, broken in different ways, clicked together. Elytte was fascinated by Miranda's boldness, her danger, her unpredictability. She was unlike anyone he had ever met, and for Miranda, Elytte was the perfect accomplice, loyal, pliable, and willing to do anything to keep her. By October 2013, they were married. Barely 22 and 18 years old, they were already living in a world of fantasy, lies, and a shared hunger for something darker than love. Every couple has shared secrets. But Miranda and Elytte's secret wasn't just intimate, it was deadly. Elytte later confessed to police that he and Miranda had always fantasized about luring someone online, taking their money and hurting them. They called it a thrill. Miranda would play the bait, posting ads on Craigslist under the companionship category. She offered brief meetings, suggesting she could provide company to lonely men willing to pay. Elytte would hide in the shadows, waiting for the right moment. Together they dreamed not of romance, but of blood. On November 11, 2013, Miranda posted another ad. A man named Troy LaFerrara, a 42-year-old, answered. Troy was an ordinary man. He worked as a security guard, lived quietly, and, like many, sought companionship online. That night, he agreed to meet Miranda in her car. It was supposed to be simple. A meeting, a conversation, maybe more. But what Troy didn't know was that Elytte was already hiding in the back seat, waiting. When Troy got into the passenger seat, Miranda smiled and drove. For a few minutes, everything seemed normal. Small talk, introductions, the beginnings of a casual exchange. Then, at a prearranged signal, Elytte suddenly leapt from the back seat. He wrapped a cord around Troy's neck, pulling tight. In the struggle, Miranda pulled out a knife. In her later confession, she admitted she stabbed him multiple times. Troy fought back, but the attack was brutal and swift. Within minutes, he was gone. And for Miranda and Elytte, it was not chaos. It was calm. Their pact had been fulfilled. The couple drove around with Troy's body in the car before dumping him in an alley in Sunbury, Pennsylvania. Afterwards, they didn't run, didn't panic. Instead, they went out. They used the money Troy had given them to buy pizza and trinkets, laughing and celebrating as if they had just gone on a date. That chilling lack of remorse is what made the case stand out. For Miranda and Elytte, the killing was not a mistake or a moment of rage. It was the fulfillment of a fantasy and a bonding experience as husband and wife. Troy LaFerrara's body was discovered quickly, and investigators worked backwards from his phone records. It didn't take long to trace his last contact, a Craigslist ad linked to Miranda Barbour. When police confronted her, the truth came tumbling out. But Miranda didn't just confess to one crime. In a shocking twist, she claimed to have killed more than 20 people across the United States, a claim that has never been verified and remains one of the most disturbing parts of the case. Elytte, meanwhile, admitted his role without hesitation. He told investigators that he hid in the back seat, strangled Troy with a cord, and helped Miranda carry out the plan. For him, it wasn't just crime, it was loyalty. In 2014, both Miranda and Elytte Barbour stood trial. Miranda was charged with criminal homicide, robbery, and possession of a weapon. Despite her shocking claims of being a serial killer, prosecutors focused on the evidence. One man, one night, one murder. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Elytte, too, was sentenced to life in prison. The young couple who had pledged their lives to one another in marriage vows were now bound together in life sentences, separated by prison walls, but forever tied to the same crime. What makes the Barbour case so unsettling is the psychology behind it. Miranda seemed to thrive on manipulation and fantasy. Her confessions about multiple killings may have been lies, a way to gain attention and notoriety. Or, as some believe, they may contain fragments of truth. Elytte, on the other hand, represented the archetype of the submissive partner. Someone willing to cross all moral boundaries to prove loyalty. Together, they embodied the dangerous symbiosis of toxic couples in crime. One drives the fantasy, the other ensures it becomes reality. Individually, perhaps they would never have acted, but together they became a deadly combination. The Barbour case is a chilling reminder of the risks of the digital age. Craigslist, once seen as a harmless online marketplace, became their hunting ground. It wasn't the first time someone had used online platforms for exploitation, and it certainly wasn't the last. But it highlighted the terrifying reality. Behind the anonymity of a screen, anyone can pretend to be something they're not. For Troy LaFerrara, the promise of companionship led him straight into the hands of a couple who saw him not as a person, but as prey. Love, in its purest form, is supposed to be safe. It's supposed to protect, to nurture, to give life meaning. But in the case of Miranda and Elytte Barbour, love became something else entirely. It became an excuse, a weapon, and a trap. They weren't just partners in marriage, they were partners in destruction. And in November of 2013, their love story claimed its first and only known victim. If this story of the Craigslist Killers unsettled you, know this. There are countless other stories where love and obsession crossed the line into darkness. Subscribe to our channel for more true crime documentaries, where we continue to explore the most disturbing and fascinating cases from around the world. Because sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones who hunt together.